Less than 24 hours, Georgians will be under a shelter-in-place order.
McDonald, though, said he did not know the man was handcuffed and was trying to use his foot to pin him to the ground so he could be handcuffed.
If your friends, neighbors, or local organizations are not complying, report them to us.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome back to the Free Georgia podcast. My name is Jake Green. Another special episode for you today. Mr. Will Harris of White Oak Pastures will be, we're going to show his keynote speech from the Great Create that happened a couple weeks ago. This guy is amazing. Phenomenal character. Loved listening to him speak about how he transformed his ranch, his farm down in South Georgia into something that could actually be sustainable, into something that could that regenerates the soil and doesn't leave the soil dead like a lot of the monocropping that we do here in the United States. He had a lot of great things to say, and everybody who went to his speech and was able to meet him absolutely loved him because he's such an interesting guy. And yeah, I had a great time. So without further ado, Mr. Will Harris.
Thank you. This may be about as weak a presentation as y'all have heard, but it'll be more of a discussion than a presentation. But I am Will Harris. I have a farm in Bluffton, Georgia called White Oak Pastures. Bluffton, Georgia is about 60 miles from here. And it was founded by my great-granddaddy in 1866, followed by his son, my daddy, my granddaddy, followed by his son, my daddy, followed by me. I'm being followed by 2 grown daughters, and they've got 5 children living on the farm. So it's 160 or so years old. And if I got anything interesting to say, if I do, it'll be to tell you a little bit about the evolution of the farm. So my great-granddaddy and granddaddy ran the farm, and of course all I know about that is family lore. We don't have a lot of written records, but it was about 500 acres, which was a big farm for that era. And they got up before every day, my great-granddaddy and later my granddaddy, employees, and they slaughtered some 6 days a week. It might be a cow, it might be 2 or 3 hogs, it might be 100 chickens, but they slaughtered goat, sheep, whatever. So they slaughtered something. And they loaded it on a mule-drawn wagon. An employee drove 2 miles up Highway 27 to Bluffton, the town of Bluffton, and basically peddled the meat. And of course, people knew he was coming. And he dropped it off at a couple of boarding houses, on a hotel, and the wealthier people there in Bluffton. And then my great-granddaddy, later my granddaddy, would ride a horse up to Bluffton on Saturday and collect his money and go again. And that's the way the farm was run. My daddy was born in 1920, took over the farm post-World War II, 1945. And he dramatically changed the way the farm was operated. Under his watch, it became a monoculture of only cattle. He was purely a cattleman. And Daddy was cowboy, and we didn't talk too much. I wish we had. But I think he was very proud of the fact that he was a professional cattleman. He didn't raise cows, hogs, sheep, goats, poultry, whatever, like his daddy and granddaddy had. And he became part of the, at that time, new linear industrial commodity food production system that fed America and still feeds America. And Daddy was successful. We, under his watch, the farm grew to about 1,000 acres and with no debt. He did well. And I grew up, and all I wanted to do was be just like Daddy. I thought that was a great way to make a living and a great way to be. I went to the University of Georgia and graduated in 1976 with a degree in animal science, and I came home and I was just like that. I ran a monocultural cattle operation for 20 years, And I went back and looked, and I paid taxes every year. We made money every year. Now, we were not rich people, but we made a little money, had no debt, and it was a good operation. In the mid-90s, for a number of reasons, I became fairly quickly dissatisfied with what I was doing. That's a long story. We can talk about it or not. But I decided to change. And the first thing I became dissatisfied with was animal welfare. I had always believed that our animal welfare was way above reproach. I thought it was real good. Our animal welfare at that time, again, nothing but cattle, was we keep them plenty to eat, keep them plenty of water, keep them in a comfortable temperature range, don't intentionally inflict pain and suffering on them, and then you were good to go. That was as good as it got. And if you had told me my animal welfare wasn't good, I probably would have been a little fuss about that. I was convinced it was very good, but it was not. And what I learned fairly quickly is that it's incumbent upon the stockman to do all those things I said: food, water, temperature, no beating on them. But in addition, they need to be able to express instinctive behavior. Cows are meant to roam and graze. And I had them shut up in feedlots in dust when it was dry, in mud when it was wet. They need to be out grazing. That's instinctive behavior. So I started fairly abruptly changing the way I handled my cattle. And it adversely affected my profitability, but not too bad. And we were profitable and had no debt. It was okay. I could afford to do it like I wanted to, so I did. But then fairly quickly, it also occurred to me that what I thought was doing a great job caring for my farm was as poorly done as my animal welfare. I use copious quantities of chemical fertilizer, pesticides. I use copious amounts of hormone implants and ionophores and subtherapeutic antibiotics in the animals. I was very chemical dependent and felt good about it. And I was proud of it. I thought I was really good at using those tools to increase productivity. And it was something I was proud of. I learned it from my daddy. I learned it at the University of Georgia, and I thought I was good at it. But I realized that was wrong too, so I gave that up. And I really enjoyed doing what I was doing more after I took the turn on animal welfare and environmental sustainability. But my profitability was not good. And we had always made money. I think I told you, I went back and looked, and I paid taxes every year I operated industrially. Didn't make a lot of money, but it was all profitable. I lost money for a few years. And I was headed towards producing grass-fed beef. This is in the mid-90s, and I had heard a little bit about grass-fed beef, but I didn't know anything about it. Not much was being done about it. It was just a subject of discussion, articles being written. And I was very, very lucky because the movement towards grass-fed beef came about when I was operating without profitability, and it was going to end badly. Still hadn't started borrowing money, but I was using up what little I had. But I was able to sell Whole Foods markets and public supermarkets American grass-fed beef. The first American grass-fed beef they ever sold was from my farm, and we had some real good yields. For Bluffton, Georgia. Now, not for Wall Street, not for New York City, but for Bluffton, Georgia, it was good. And we made up some of that ground we lost, and we were losing money. I was pleased with that. And I wound up building a slaughter plant on the farm for the red meat animals because I couldn't find capacity to slaughter as much as I was selling. I also went in other businesses. I told you it was a monoculture, nothing but cattle the farm was nothing but cattle on Tifton 85 Bermuda grass. If you weren't a cow or Tifton 85 Bermuda grass, I would spray your ass with something. and I was real good at that. That's what I prided myself on, is I knew the tools to use to maintain the monocultures that I wanted. But I had come away from that, so I started adding other species. And eventually I added, to the cattle, I added sheep, goats, hogs, rabbits are small, and poultry. We raised chickens, turkeys, geese, guineas, and ducks, and then later honey, and a number of other things. And actually went in the garden. They told me not to call it garden, the organic vegetable business. and I barely know a tomato from a carrot, but we got a young woman that runs it that's real good at that. She does a great job. But anyway, we added these other enterprises, and I built the red meat processing plant, and then later on I built a poultry processing plant, and later on I built a pavilion where we take the vegetables and make canned goods and jelly and jam and whatever else can be made. And we just added a lot of other things to it. And in the process of doing that, I wound up buying, sort of like this, I wound up buying houses and storefronts and lots in Bluffton. Bluffton, like so many agrarian towns, had fallen into poverty and was pretty much on its way to being a ghost town. Nobody lived in Bluffton except old people and poor people. And I started buying houses and lots because they would sell. We were doing pretty good on the farm. And they would sell for, I could buy a lot for $600, a house for $18,000. And there were a lot of them selling, so we bought them. And started fixing them up a little bit. And by that time, I had about 160 or 70 employees. And my payroll is $100,000 a week. And this is in Bluffton. I was moving people in, and they the first thing they say is, "Where am I going to live?" Well, I know what I can pay you. I don't know where you're going to live. That's not a good answer. So we fixed these houses for them, and I was really enjoying that, but I hadn't given it a whole lot of thought philosophically. And I had a meeting with a guy in Bluffton one day. And we got through 10-hour business, and he said, "This is a nice little town." And I was waiting on the punchline, and there wasn't one. He meant it. He thought it was a nice little town. And I looked around, I said, shit, this is kind of nice. And it has become a real area of pride for me. And I told you that the things that meant a lot to me were the animal welfare first. And I got comfortable with that. Then it was the regenerative land management, and we could talk a lot about that. That's a very deep subject. The animal welfare is pretty much just do this. The regenerative land management is a whole science. But then I added a third and my last thing that I value, which is the rural revival, and that has become very important to me. And today, if you come to Bluffton, it's nice. It's a nice little town. We got a store, we got lodging, we got a restaurant, we got, it's still tiny, but it's a nice little town, and you can leave your door unlocked. Almost everybody in Bluffton that works for White Oak Pastures. There's some old people there and some welfare culture people, but for the most part, we got really good people. And again, I leave my Jeep parked there full of guns overnight with the windows down, and it's like so that's who I am and what I do. Really, this is a diverse crowd for me. I'm used to talking to farmer groups and whatnot, but tell me what you want to hear about now. That's the story, but I can tell you as much detail as you want. Yes, sir. And thank you for asking. It's going to be embarrassing as hell if I stood there.
I'm curious what changed in you to kind of like spur going from the industrial monoculture system to what you are now. That original.
Well, I sort of glossed past that part because I didn't want to ask you. I think that, I'm pretty sure that I became aware of the unintended consequences of that, using those tools and farming in that way, because I was an abuser and I saw the unintended consequences.
What type of consequences did you see?
So if I was giving cattle drugs and it said 1 cc per 100 pounds of body weight, shit, I started at 2 and I was prepared to go to 4. And it was wrong in me, but somehow I was of the impression, I think my dad was that way too, a little is good, more is more good. And it's not. But what it does is you can see the unintended consequences. And the same was true with pesticides. Side means kill. Homicide. Side means kill. And I was really good at killing stuff. Insecticide, nematicide, herbicide. Side means kill. And what I did, I thought I was a very good cattleman, monocultural cattleman. And what I did every day is get up and go to the pasture and look for something to kill. And I could find something to kill. And I knew what to put out to kill it. And what I didn't know, but came to understand is, when I put that pesticide out to kill whatever I thought was a problem, it worked. It worked good. But it killed something else. And when it kills something else, that's a problem. And I needed another pesticide, and another, and another, and another. I'll say this. I don't believe that when post-World War II, when the first pesticides started being used by my dad and his generation, I don't believe that it was a plot. I'm not much on this sinister. I think it seemed like a good idea to use that technology at the time. But it did what I said. It didn't just kill what you were targeting, it killed some other stuff. And I'm positive, I can't prove it, but I'm positive that today modern pesticide companies are very aware of that. And they know if we sell this product, it'll kill this pest. It'll also kill this beneficial, it'll allow us to sell another product, and another, and another. And who's anybody a farmer? You probably know. If you operate in a conventional manner, you are spending an incredible amount of money on these technical scientific products that do exactly what you want done, but there's some other stuff you didn't want done, and you disrupt the system. And to move away from that is economically painful. I felt a lot of passion about moving away from it back in the mid-90s, and I did. But shit, it was hard. And I tell people, there's times I would kill a man for a load of ammonium nitrate. I wanted it bad. Or some side. Or the list goes on and on. But it's like, I never have been addicted to cocaine, but I guess it's like coming off that. It's painful, but when you get past it, you get past it. And I have no regrets on that. It is, there was a time when I made it through doing without the withdrawal of doing without those products, that I thought that I was, and I don't know if I use these words, but now, I thought I was an early innovator in changing the way things are done. And I didn't get, I ain't out on the road passing out Bible verses. But if somebody came to talk about it, I would tell them, pal, that's wrong. Let me tell you what you ought to do. And I've about quit doing that because it is very, very hard for a conventional farmer to give up using all those technologies and move into what we do now. And I know some people that have tried it and it has not worked for them economically, and I don't want to be part of the problem. So I formed a 501c3 called CFAR, Center for Agricultural Resilience. Whew, I couldn't remember the name of it recently. And we got a really sharp executive director. We put on schools for people that want to learn how to move away from that industrial production model. But I don't try to not push. I don't try to promote it much. I mean, I believe in it, but I also believe you can go broke doing it. You know, I have friends and neighbors and relatives in and around Bluffton, Georgia, who farm still big industrially. You know, a cotton picker costs $1.2 million. And you know that damn thing won't do nothing but pick cotton about 8 weeks a year. I mean, it's incredible. And then we can go on down the line, peanut picker, combine, all these, and my friends and neighbors and relatives who are still industrial farmers, most of them also have ownership in a cotton gin, and ownership in a peanut shelling plant, and ownership in a grain elevator, feed mill. So I'm passionate about what I do, and I'm very grateful. I was fortunate enough to do it at the time I did it, so I made it. But I'm also reluctant to be very critical of people that are farming the way they farm industrially. I mean, I'm not shy about saying I think that's a problem, but I'm shy about saying here's what you ought to do, because it might not work.
I'm really glad you're here and that you ran across Elizabeth and everything. And this is so cool and so important. I wanted to know a ton of things, but have you ever heard of carbon cowboys and adaptive raising? And also I wanted to know about, I think you moved into processing. If you've got any resistance from like the powers that shouldn't be processing things. This adaptive pilot raising thing is where and that's where the forage, it can develop so large that it's like.
So the carbon cowboy is work done by a guy named Peter Bick.
Yeah.
He's a filmmaker, and we were one of the first ones that he shot, but that was before he got so famous. So Gabe Brown is my best friend on the planet. He's from North Dakota, and he really caught traction with that. And this Peter Bick's a good guy, and that's good work he's doing. We do use multi-pilot grazing. One of the main rotational grazing, I call it. It don't matter. Our home farm is now 3,200 acres, and it's divided up into 150-something 30-ish acre pallets.
Like movable.
No. Most people do. By the time when I made up my mind to move the cattle, I used to have I had nearly as many cows. No, I didn't, but I had a lot of cows. But I had permanent herds in permanent pastures. They kind of lived in a pasture. And there were reasons for it. Old cows, really young cows, too much Brahmin influence, whatever. Not breeding the right factor. So they were resident herds, and I thought that was fine. I mean, that's the way we did it at the University of Georgia. That's the way my daddy did it. But we changed that, and I was at the time I made the decision. I was young enough. I said, shit, I'm gonna be doing this another 20 or 30 years. Maybe a different decision today. But I chopped up it permanent. So I put down permanent fences. We move cattle every day. except for usually from Thanksgiving to January, we put them on. We feed them hay. We marine them somewhere, feed them hay. And I like that a lot. And moving cattle is what we do. And we used to use dogs and horses, and now we don't. No, I tell you what, when you open that gate, you better get your ass out the way. They'll run over you. And we'll usually put somebody behind them, push out a baby calf or an old bull that don't feel good, or a crippled cow, something like that. What was the other question?
It's about your processing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're.
Yeah. Well,
I'm a conspiracy theorist.
The caption might also say, "Do not try this at home." So, I'm glad I built processing plants, but it's we still got 170 something employees. That's the part of my business I like the least. I mean, I just don't like it. I mean, it's not. I don't think it's cruel. It's not blood and shit. It's just fine. It's just. I just don't enjoy that part. I do it. I go there every day, but I don't stay there very long. I got really good people running it. Yes, ma'am.
So I think you said that your farm now is like what, 4th or 5th generation? Like
Yeah, I'm the 4th. My daughter's the 5th.
Yeah. How do you think that your farm today, where you're running it, how similar or different do you think it is from the first generation?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I believe it's quite similar to what my great granddaddy and granddaddy did. I know it's a heck of a lot different than what my daddy and I did. And I when I decided to change the farm, I did not say I'm gonna go back to what my great grand. I didn't do that. I didn't think that far ahead. I just knew I was moving away from what I was doing. It was kind of surprising a bit when I realized how far I'd come in the other direction. You know, it's different. When my great granddad and granddad were slaughtering on the farm and distributing locally meat, poultry, there was no internal combustion engines. There was no ice. There was no refrigeration. There was no USDA inspection. It was cowboy. And, but it worked for them financially. They grew the farm. And then my dad took it over and changed all that. And you know, he didn't opt to, he had to. And I think he loved it. But he did what he needed to do to survive as a farmer, cattleman. And it was good. So,
I would love to hear more about the regenerative farming.
okay. That's a big old can of worms. So when I told you that the first thing that hit me was the animal welfare, and it was, but very quickly the regenerative land. I started thinking about things more, and I remember taking dirt from my pasture that we had farmed intentionally with pesticides, chemical fertilizers, tillage, deep tillage, and then going over in the woods, 40, 50 feet, and getting soil, dirt and soil. That had never had any of those, and going. I said, shit, I want this one like this. And I missed my mark on how easy it would be to get that. I mean, it was clear to me that what caused that difference was those things: tillage, chemical fertilizer, pesticides, etc. So I knew how to fix it, but I did not understand how long it would take to fix it. And so I'll tell you how far we've come. That was in the, and I wasn't visionary enough to take that dirt and have it analyzed and checked. I mean, I never thought that. I knew I was going to move away from it. So probably 5 years ago, the work's on our website. My website is whiteoakpastures.com, and there is a study called a LCA, Life Cycle Assessment. Can't believe I remember that. And it's done by an environmental engineering group from Minneapolis called Qantas. And a big company paid for it. I'll tell you who in a minute that we were doing business with. And it showed that my soil is over 5.5, a little over 5.5, less than 6, a little over 5.5% organic matter. And we analyzed soil on my cousin's farm right beside mine that would have been just like mine was 25 years ago, and it was 0.5%. So it's an 11x increase in carbon. Now, I want to be real clear about this. I hear too much about carbon. I'm talking about it, but we talk as though carbon is all that matters, and it's not. It's important. It's not all that matters, but it's measurable. And what matters is the carbon cycle, the mineral cycle, the water cycle, the energy cycle, the microbial cycle, the grazing cycle, on and on and on. There's no one cycle that's all so important. All that stuff's got to work together. But we talk about carbon all the time. I think it's a conspiracy. I think I'm with you on that. Absolutely. So back on carbon. I'm going to tell you a little more about that. 1% carbon will absorb a 1-inch rain event. A 1-inch rain event is 27,000 gallons of water on an acre of land. So if you got 0.5% organic matter, which is what I used to have, it'll absorb 13,000 gallons of water. If you've got 5.5% carbon, it'll hold 100 and something thousand gallons of water. Now, not if it comes like that one did 2 days ago and it runs off, but if it comes slow. And there's some, also on my website, there's some very compelling videos about rain runoff coming off my farm and my cousin's farm, that same poor cousin who used to like me. But it is what it is. I mean, and you can see on our website the after 4, 5, 6 inch rain, whatever it was, the water coming off my farm and his farm. And my watershed is much bigger than his, but there's more water coming off his, and the water coming off mine looks like tea, and the water coming off his looks like a chocolate milkshake. And it's there. I mean, he can get mad as he wants to. The damn video is still on there.
What are the practices that you do that your cousin is not doing? What exactly are you doing in the last 5 years that your cousin ain't doing?
Yeah. So the way grazing needs to be done is a really hard impact and a long recovery time. You know, if you think about the great grazing ranges of the world, the Serengeti Plain in Africa, or the Great Plains of the United States, you can go on with that. It's big herds of bison in this country moving across. Even they bunch up together for safety. You know, that's how they stay safe. You know, crowd. And they move, steady moving across land, and they're grazing, and there's a hard impact.
I love it. They're stomping it, and they're grabbing
stomping it, eating it, shitting on it,
and saliva on it.
It's saliva, big deal. That's right. A lot of impact. And then there's a long recovery time. They may not be back for a year. Now, you know, I'll be back in 60 days. Right? So I'm probably living on 5,000 acres of land. But that hard impact and long recovery time, it causes that plant to be like a carbon pump. You know, all that carbon came from up here. You know, I don't ever put carbon out. It all came from transpiration. If I was pulling the greenhouse gas plant. So you know, that plant grows. We impact it hard. There's not much left, it grows to 18, 24 inches high. And when it's growing that much up here, those roots are doing the same thing. Then we graze it hard for one day. I move cattle every day, put them in, make them stay next day, next day, next day. Move back in 60 days. In 60 days, that plant will have recovered up here and it's recovered down here. When those cattle bite it off, they, we hear so much about flatulence and it happens. I mean, there's no doubt it happens. But all that carbon they're putting back up there, it came from up there. They didn't find carbon and send it up there. Every bit of it came from there. And of that carbon that they did eat, those roots grew, and when they bite it off, those roots slough off. These are perennial plants primarily. They don't kill them, but they, it doesn't take as much root to maintain this as it does this. So, and then that is marooning that carbon under the ground. They eat it, they do flatulate, they do blow some up. They also defecate and urinate. And when they defecate and urinate, it is just incredible. So I'll tell the story. We graze about 2,000 acres of solar voltaic arrays. And that's good business for us, and we like it a lot. I do it with sheep, not cattle, but we like it a lot. I was sort of on a mission to get that done when I found out they were going to put those arrays around my farm. So I used a little political capital I had. I got the CEO to come down here. He didn't want to come, but he did. And I was trying to show him the benefit of grazing, using animals to maintain that vegetation on those solar arrays. And I'm not a salesman. I graduated in animal science. I'm a farmer. But I could tell I wasn't getting through. I mean, he was nodding at me. That was it. I'll be there when I get out of this truck now. So we went to a place on my farm. This was an accident. I didn't do it on purpose. Where we had done some mowing. We don't like to mow. We mow occasionally. A bush hog. We got away from us. It was right beside where I'd had the cattle out there grazing. And when I saw it, whoa, it was in the Jeep. I said, get out. So we got out and I took that grass residue. I said, now, not much of this is going to make it down to the microbes in the soil. It's going to volatilize, it's going to dry up, there's not much of it's going to make it beneath the surface of the soil. But where the cattle were, I drilled my foot through that manure, and it was just full of dung beetles. I said, that's going to feed the soil. And I said, well, like a gift. He went, yeah. This the guy, he's a CEO, MBA, CPA, attorney. I mean, he's a heavy hitter. But he and I don't see the same thing, but he got that. And since then, we've signed contracts for 2,000 acres of grazing, and it's good for us. I think it's good for him too.
I have a question. So, in regards to the rural revival that you're talking about, this is kind of popular among people in the freedom movement to exit and build. The problem is that sometimes, like getting that rural area off the ground. Like you build the stores and things, but how do you go from getting the people actually there and making that community sustainable?
Well, sometimes it ain't the people that are actually there. Sometimes people come. We're supposed to be clear about that. We got 170 employees, and a lot of the people that are there came there to work there. We got an intern program. We bring in 6 interns per quarter, 4 times a year, and we keep a lot of them. We'll go by that later. But so okay, let's just I use this tactic. If you Google it, I think you'll see that it says USDA or somebody says that the farmer's share of the food dollar is about 14 cents. And you know, I'm sure that varies, and it matters whether you're selling cornflakes or beef, but it says about 14 cents. So when you buy a farm product from a grocery store, 14 cents of it finds its way to Bluffton, Georgia, or Omaha, Georgia, or Lumpkin, Georgia. If you buy food from White Oak Pastures, 100 cents of it comes to Bluffton, Georgia. Now, I always hesitate to tell people that because that may make it sound like, damn, y'all make a lot of money. Well, no, the return on my investment is very low. In fact, when I have discussions with CPAs and MBAs and CEOs, and I'll tell them what our business makes. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just answering the question. I'll tell them what our business makes and how much equity we got in it. They say, shit, why would you do that? And I say, yeah, we want to. And I think that there's more to it than that. I think that if you look at our actual earnings that we pay tax on, it's not much. And it's a low return on the investment I got in White Oak Pastures. But if you take the value I've added to my land, moving it from 0.5% to 5.5% organic matter, I didn't pay tax on that. And it's wealth. I can't extract it quick, but over generations of farming, it will extract that. So we feel good, me and my family feel good about it. Is that the question? So, okay, so back on, I know that wasn't the question. If you do what I do, if you think like that, you ain't gonna do too good. You gotta think like this. So, so when I farmed industrially, I told you I had 3 or 4 employees and made minimum wage. I was the only person there in management, and I didn't pay myself a hell of a lot. I lived comfortably. I didn't make a lot of money. And the farm made a little money and went back into the farm. When we changed what we do today, we made huge investments in the community, so I help place for people to live. We made huge investments in people. Me and my 2 daughters and 2 in-laws, I own the company. And I got 2 daughters and 2 in-laws that work in management now, and 2 other very senior managers that are not related to me. And I make less than any of them. And my daughters and in-laws make less than some people that work for us. And I'm unapologetic about it. We have people that I'm very proud of. I'm not going to say what they make because it's not. But I'm very proud of what they make. So we are economically incentivizing life in Bluffton, Georgia. And it's, I'm going to tell you now, Bluffton's pretty nice.
I'm curious where you see farming heading in the next 10 to 15 years, based on your kind of perspective from the other side of things. Because, I studied agronomy at Auburn, and for the most part, everybody's still invested in the industrial system. Oh, yeah,
all my friends and neighbors and relatives are still heavily committed to the industrial system for reasons I said. Where are we going in White Oak Pastures? I told you that I started out as purely a wholesale company. I think I told you that. When I started marketing grass-fed beef, I was selling to Publix, Whole Foods Market, Kroger, Giant Eagle, and so a little bit of food service, but not much. I never have done too good in food service. Cisco type deal. And when I told you we did well financially for a while, and we did in 2015, I believe it was. Things started a little bit downhill for me with that. USDA changed the rule on country of origin labeling. Prior to that time, product of the USA meant born, raised, and slaughtered in the 50 states. They changed that rule so that if any value was added in the 50 states, it's product of the USA. And that opened the door for imports from Uruguay, Australia, New Zealand, and 26 other countries. And it didn't just drop to the bottom of the market like that, but it started. And sadly today, and it caught a lot of my friends that were transitioning but hadn't got a toehold yet. And they weren't able to stay in business. For us, we were able to stay in business. I just didn't make as much money as I did. And it was a little worrying. I had a couple of years I lost a lot of money, but I was able to pay the bills, but just didn't have much equity. And when COVID hit, sadly, it was real good for my business. My daughter had started the online marketing effort, but it hadn't amounted to much. We were selling $20-something million worth of product a year and maybe $1 million online. Just wasn't, probably losing money on it because there wasn't enough volume there to make it work. During COVID, of course, everybody knows what happened to grocery stores and all that, and our online business just blew up. And I made a mistake. I didn't think it was the right thing to do to cut my grocery stores off, so I kept trying to sell them, but I did grow the online business some. In retrospect, I should have cut them off and put it all through there, but I didn't. And I wasn't being kind. I was just being stupid. But of course, the panic went away, and the volume fell back down. But it's still, this past year, in December 31st last year, was the first year we sold more product online than we sold wholesale to grocery.
Oh, wow.
And I'm now investing a bunch of money, a bunch of borrowed money in our plants to increase the capacity some. It's not going to double it, it's going to increase it some. So the question that comes up next is, what you going to do with that product? And what I don't want to do is sell it to wholesale grocery. I want to keep the business I got. I like them. It's a place to go for stuff, large volumes of stuff. But I don't want to increase it. I don't want to increase the FedEx and UPS. FedEx and UPS scare the hell out of me. I mean, anything can happen. So we're going to have a right good bit of stuff that we need to know what to do with. And what we're going to do is very risky, in my opinion. But we have leased 2 stalls, in this new farmers market deal in Atlanta West. I don't know what you call it. And we're going to have a store in Atlanta.
Saw that on Instagram.
Yeah.
Super cool.
They just announced. They just announced it. Let us announce. I think we signed the first lease they had signed, and it concerns me gravely. And I having 170 employees in Bluffton is not a problem. Because I see every one of them every day. Having 8 or 9 or whatever it takes to staff that place in Atlanta is just, I don't want to go there.
When you sold so much more online, you said in 2021, where are those customers based? Where is it all going?
That's a good question. And that's a good question. And that's one thing I don't like about selling online. We ship product to 48 states, and I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I got to sell about $28, $30 million worth of stuff to make the stuff work. That's just what we got debt. We built processing plants. We've done a lot of things, and we gotta go. But my hope is that will shrink, and going in this retail business in Atlanta, I hope will help that shrink. I can't make my living selling meat in Bluffton, Georgia. Ain't enough of us. But I would like to think I could make my living between Atlanta and Jacksonville and Orlando. And that's what I would like to do.
Who takes on the shipping costs for shipping to 48 states? Is it your customer, or do you guys take that on?
That's a good question. I'll call my daughter. No, I know a little bit about it. I don't know much about it. She handles that. We don't want to ship meat to California and Oregon and Arizona. So we actually upcharge out of it. We do want to sell it here. So we've got I think if it's, you can look at the website, if it's $200, it don't cost you anything. So we actually spend money to get through Zone 1, whatever the hell that is. I don't even know what that is.
Regional.
I hear talking about Zone 1. I know that. So we most of the stuff we send to Zone 1, we don't charge freight because people order that $150, $200, whatever it is, so they won't have to pay it. But then when we get to some other zones out there, we start charging, and we actually make a little money on it because we're trying to dissuade that.
Interesting.
That's right.
Do you have any concerns or, I guess, experience with like government trying to come in and like a shutdown kind of thing, but because of the whole like you're putting too much carbon out or what with all of the environmental laws, or have you had any of that like pushback from agencies trying to like stop you from doing something different?
Well, I'm gonna chop it up in two pieces.
Sure.
If it's am I concerned about government regulation and over-regulation? Yes, I am. I'm very concerned, especially owning the slaughter plant, because we have two inspectors on my farm at my plants every day, 5 days a week, from 7:30 to 4:30, and they're not there to help me. They're there. That's right. That's right.
Are you paid them as well?
No, you are. Yeah, we all are. So if when I work those people from during my hours, 7:30 to 4:30 Monday through Friday, they're paid by the tax dollars. We all pay them.
Oh, thanks.
We had to run the slaughterhouse today because we missed yesterday because the power was out. So I had to pay that. I had to pay for them. And I'm saying this: those people that work in my slaughterhouse, those federal employees, are good people. I mean, I had one son of a bitch out of 20 years, and it was a bat. The medical term is batshit crazy. And we finally got to move. But the folks that come to my place every day are really good people. They're there trying to make a living. Now the room, and let's say this, I'm not pro USDA inspection. I am not, but let's be fair. All the rules that they are holding us accountable for were put in place because somebody somewhere did something stupid or illegal. And I don't agree with all them rules, but they're there because somebody did something wrong. So that could have got you sick or your baby sick. So, it's like, I don't enjoy it. I told you, I don't go to the slaughterhouse, go like that. But it's part of it because of regulation. But they're not bad people. They're not bad people. You get on up that chain of command, probably bad people. But those people that come to my place, they're good folks.
Do you think that they're going to try and like come in and just because you're doing something different than everybody else is doing? Do you feel like are you getting it? Do you have any pressure from that, like from government officials who are saying, we don't like that you're doing this?
It's clear that it's clear that places like ours going in is not in the best interest of the USDA Meat Inspection Service. And they can put a guy or gal on a line of a high volume plant going down the rail, moving from the chain. Ain't no chain at my place.
Mm.
When it gets ready to move from there, you get it, you push it like this. And a big day is about 25 head of cows. It's killing cows by 25 head. So you got a person there all day, expect 25 head. A big plant, 25 head to shoot by now in a minute. I mean, it's just a very short period of time. So, I don't think, that's speculation on my part. I think that what we call it, fake meat or whatever, I think that is probably going to have more impact on what I do than all these other things. And I think it's probably going to be, beneficial for me. I think that I'm not trying to sell everybody in the country. I got dedicated customers that believe in what I do and they like what I do. And we show it to them. You can come see me, you can see anything you want to see. And I think that as the industrial meat, whether it's fake meat or DNA or whatever it is, gets further and further from what I do, I think it's better and better for me.
Yeah.
The competition I got is industrial production, industrial meat production. It's doing a good job tricking people. It is about like what I do. They're very good at that.
How do you feel that your education, your time at the University of Georgia, affected the way that you run your business today? Do you think that it would have been drastically different had you decided to stay in Bluffton?
Yeah. I don't regret my college experience. I had a lot of fun. I got a big guy. I was there when they were streaking. But now as far as I got 3 daughters, 2 work for me. I put all 3 of them through 4 years of college at my expense and felt good about doing it, and it was fine. They all graduated, they all did good. I've rethought it. And any of my grandchildren that want to go to college, I'm not paying for it unless there's a reason. Now, if they want a committed, determined to be an accountant or a doctor or something that requires a college education, sit down and we'll talk about it. But if they want to come home and run that farm, we're not going to college. It is because the things you learn are not only not what we do, in many ways it's like almost the antithesis of what we do.
So can you reverse the extension service and teach them what you know?
If I gave them as much money as Monsanto and Bayer and all that stuff, I probably could. In the absence of that, I don't see much. It's incredible the amount of money that universities, land-grant universities particularly, get from the industry. It's a lot. And it's going to impact how they run the schools, the businesses. And I don't think the dean of the ag school on my farm recently, about 3 or 4 weeks ago. And he's a good guy. I don't think he's a crook or a charlatan, but he's got a budget. And he doesn't get enough money from the government to meet that budget. He gets a lot of money from the country. And that is going to have an impact on what they teach. I'm not anti-university, but it's just so far from what I do.
What about butcher box companies like Butcher Box?
Yeah, you got to be careful about that. I think that Butcher Box in particular, I don't know about all of them, A friend of mine that knows a lot about butcher box told me that they were most of the grass-fed beef they sell is imported. Now, the fact that it's imported don't mean it's bad. It just means it's imported. And that's okay, but say it out loud. Don't say, which they do, product of the USA. And that, I don't want to be guilty of saying that all the imported product is substandard. Some of it's probably as good as, maybe better than what I produce. I don't know. But let's just tell the truth about where it came from. And you can come see mine. I probably ain't going to Uruguay.
I've actually got two questions for you. One, what would you say is maybe the government regulation that you find the most detrimental to your business, or the one that you deal with that has the most negative impact on your business? And then two, you mentioned you don't like spending time in the processing or the slaughterhouse. Where do you enjoy spending your time?
Well, as I said before, I won't come talking the other night. This will piss me off. I usually drink about maybe a bottle of wine. In the past, about this time of day. So the other question was,
just like what regulation do you have to deal with that has the biggest impact on your business that you don't like?
I mean, maybe it's maybe it's the country of art and labor. Maybe I don't know. They're none of those regulations are put in place to help me, and so many of them. Now, I don't think this intentionally put in place to hurt me, but there's negative impact from there.
But you don't get government resistance in the production of meat. They're on your side in there. So, and actually the production of livestock and the processing of meat, they're pretty much, they are on your side. They're helping you.
I don't think I can get you.
Sure. Okay, that's all.
I was on my side. No. I wouldn't say that, but I wouldn't have to get you. I've had some problems. I've had some problems with some high up people in USDA, and they were out to get me. I mean, I could bore you with that for a while, but at a certain level in government, USDA, you pick your department. And those bureaucrats are focused on what am I going to do when I retire. And they've seen so many of their predecessors go to work making a lot of money for big ag or big banks or. So I think a lot of these guys, these very high up people, spend their careers, or at least the last part of their careers, catering to big ag, big tech, big bank, and I'm convinced of that. I've had some experience with it. I couldn't prove it, but I'll try to do this briefly. It may be time to go. Okay, I'll tell this story. So we raise poultry outside in the pasture, and I got guardian dogs that keep the predators off of them, and it worked real good. The dogs are nocturnal. At night, they were up there with the birds and with the foxes and coyotes and bobcats and whatever, owls, whatever came. They were right there with them, and our predator loss was insignificant. Some, but no. Eagles came into our ecosystem big time. The raptor specialists from the DNR estimated we had 78 eagles on the farm in the wintertime when he came to see us. And they were eating my ass up. And we ultimately, I had a brilliant poultry guy. He figured it out. He eventually put webbing around and shut the dogs up with the birds, so they couldn't go to the woods in daytime. So it corrected it 90-something%. But during the time that he was figuring it out, they cost us a bunch of money. And there's a government program called LIP, Livestock Indemnity Program. I'm having a good night. And I signed up for that. And they were to pay me for the birds I lost that the eagles killed, because eagles are a protected species. I couldn't defend my. It's just eagles, cougars, timberwolves, not bobcats, owls, and the local office voted to approve me to be paid. The state office voted to approve me to be paid. In D.C., they turned it down. They turned it down. It wasn't real clear why. And we actually litigated and won. They appealed it and litigated and won. Ultimately, they settled with us. It was clearly, when you get very high up in these federal offices, it ain't fair no more. But again, at the local level, I think it's rude. I think it's good. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.